Today, I've got a holiday treat so delicious it feels indulgent, and yet so packed with antioxidants, it literally helps you glow from within. This holiday pumpkin bread combines orange, chocolate, and coffee in a way that's so delicious, I have to say, it's the best quick bread I have ever eaten. Proving that holiday indulgence can not only be good for you, but can also be your beauty secret. The original recipe was from salon.com, but I made a couple of swaps to make it healthier. The result is a light, tender loaf, almost like a cake, but with a little more structure. It's lightly sweet, fragrant, loaded with antioxidants, and it has this interesting flavor in the background that you can't quite name, but it does add kind of a warmth and a richness that balances out the complexity of the other flavors on your palate. Now, I've made a lot of quick breads that were bricks. Dense, heavy, chewy, tough. But this is by far the best flavor and texture with just a touch of sweetness that makes this bread perfect for breakfast, a snack, even dessert. What makes this good for you is that I made sure to increase the gut-healthy fiber and up the protein content while keeping the amount of sugar on the low end. And then adding in all the antioxidants from the pumpkin, the orange, the coffee, and yes, the chocolate is a bonus for giving you glowing skin. For the dry ingredients, you've got 1 cup of sifted, sprouted whole wheat flour. Sifting it before you measure it keeps the texture from being too dense. To that, I added 3/4 of a cup of oat flour, teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground cardamom. And then we'll mix that all together and then get the wet ingredients going. Whenever you see a recipe that combines baking soda and yogurt, you know you're going to get a lot of lift because the baking soda is alkaline while the yogurt is acidic. And so the reaction of the two gives it a beautiful rise and a tender crumb, especially if you let it rest a few minutes after you've mixed everything together before you put it into your baking pan. In a large bowl, combine 2 large eggs, 1/3 of a cup of plain Greek yogurt, 1/2 a cup of raw, coarse ground sugar, turbinado sugar. If you're using a fine ground sugar, only put in 1/3 of a cup. 2 tablespoons of cold espresso or strong coffee. A little extra can't hurt. Teaspoon of vanilla and 1/3 of a cup of a neutral oil. I used organic, cold-pressed sunflower oil. So for the wet ingredients, you've got 2 large eggs, 1/2 a cup of sugar, of turbinado sugar, 1/3 of a cup of a neutral oil, 1/3 of a cup of yogurt. I used plain Greek yogurt, teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 tablespoons cold coffee or espresso, and a cup of this. This is my homemade pumpkin puree. We'll get that in and stir it up. Every fall, I roast a couple of pumpkins to make homemade pumpkin puree. Then I separate it into 1 cup portions and freeze them so that I always have something recipe ready when I want to use it. This year I had 5 cups stored away and I went through them thanks to this recipe like within a few weeks. The last thing before I mix everything is I add about 2 tablespoons of grated orange zest, which is about 1 medium orange. The original recipe used chopped candied orange peel, which is traditional at this time of year, but would have made the loaf a little sweeter than I wanted. I used zest instead, and it worked perfectly to give the loaf the orange flavor without the added sugar. Once everything is well mixed, I slowly add in the dry ingredients. Take your time, stirring just until the flour is absorbed and there are no streaks. Now add in the semi-sweet mini chocolate chips, about 1/3 to 1/2 of a cup or more depending on how chocolatey you want your loaf. Let the batter rest for a few minutes while you prepare the baking pan. I buttered and lined the loaf pan with parchment paper so the baked bread can easily be removed when it's cooled. Bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 55 to 65 minutes. When it's done, it should feel firm when you touch the center, and a toothpick inserted in the middle should come out clean. Also, your house is going to smell incredible. Pumpkin, spices, and orange. The smells that make holiday memories. Cool for about 20 minutes and serve with coffee, tea, or hot chocolate. When the loaf is cool, slice it and serve with your favorite beverage, coffee, tea, hot chocolate. And then to freeze it, just wrap the parchment paper around it and then wrap that whole thing in plastic wrap. I'm not sure how long you can store it in the freezer because we ate up ours after about a week. But believe it or not, it actually tastes better after it's had that time to mature. And one more thing, when you serve this with coffee, that coffee flavor in the background becomes more present and adds even more depth to the flavor. This pumpkin bread has a good amount of protein, healthy fiber, and antioxidants. It's perfect with a cup of coffee or tea. It's soft and tender and tastes amazing. It freezes beautifully, so you'll always have some around when guests stop by. I'm having a little bit of this pumpkin spice tea from Yogi, which would be really good with your pumpkin spice loaf. So be sure to give this recipe a try and let me know what you think of it, if you think it's really as good as I think it is, okay? And as we say goodbye to 2025 and hello to 2026, let's celebrate by elevating our mood and our health with a festive farewell. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Happy holidays to all of you, and I will see you in the new year. Bye.